Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Cyrus, and welcome to another episode of Tea, Milk to Sugars. I've got the pleasure of introducing Mrs. Paulette Hallam. She is one of my best friends. I've known her since 2024, if I'm not mistaken. And she's the author of a really well-received trilogy. I'm gonna let her introduce herself, and after that, we will start the show. Please go ahead.
Hello, Sarah said good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for joining us. My name is Paulette Hallam. I'm the creator of the Jack and Water trilogy. I'm co-author with Charlotte Morvan, and we together created something that has been received so amazingly by parents, therapists, and also teachers. And funnily enough, children too. So the reason we've produced these books is because we realized there's a gap in the market. And it was very important to us to reach to the children so they could help solve their own problems with the guidance of parents, not be just told what they needed to do. And I'll leave it there.
Thank you so much, Paulette. One of the topics, one of the subjects that many people talk about, but they don't really say much about, is the subject of bullying. In my experience, when there is a gathering, there's a conference, there's a webinar, people mostly talk about how they feel about it. They don't ask the questions that parents have, right? So we are looking at the concept of, on the subject of bullying from the parents' point of view, which in our view is the most important, because our kids are important to us and we want to protect them, and we want to equip them with the right tools to protect themselves when we are not around, we're not with them. So it is of utmost significance, utmost importance, to enable our kids to protect themselves when they are not with us. So there is a few main questions that we have gathered around, and we're gonna be discussing them in this episode of Tea, Milk to Sugars. Okay. Now, the first topic, the first question, really. How do I know if my child is being bullied when they won't talk about it? Well, that is one of those topics, isn't it, Paulette? If they don't tell you, some parents tell us, if I'm not told what's going on, how am I supposed to know? I don't have a crystal ball. How am I supposed to know? What is your response to that, and how would you approach this question? This is one of the most Googled questions as well. How do I know if my child is being bullied when they won't talk about it? Please go ahead.
Well, I have absolute personal experience of this, and it goes back 24 years. My nephew was 6 years old. He was the second child on the bus, and every seat on the bus was taken. The bully would not let him sit down anywhere. And in the end, he'd get shouted at by the bus driver for not sitting down. He didn't tell his parents because his parents were busy. And I just happened to be there for the weekend. And he spoke to me. And he broke. And he broke in a way that I've never seen a child sob when I told him it was okay to tell me. I said, it doesn't matter whatever's happening, you can tell me. And he just said, every seat is taken, and the bus driver shouts at me. And I said, okay, I'm going to tell you what to do. When you get on the bus tomorrow, I want you to stand tall. Imagine your feet are the roots of a tree and they're spreading out and giving you stability. I want you to stand tall with your chin held high. And I want you to walk up to the bus driver and say, is it okay with you if I sit directly behind you, sir? And he will say, yes, of course. And you will say, thank you very much. And you sit directly behind the bus driver. Now the bully can't bully you. Meanwhile, I'd spoken to his parents, unbeknown to Jack, and I had told them that this was going on. And it turns out there'd been an altercation between my brother and the parent of this child. And this child had decided that they were going to take it out on Jack. Now, the reason I tell this story is because to bring reality into a subject makes it so much more understandable. Had that little boy done anything wrong? No. Had the parents known what was going on? No. Why did they not know? Because they were very busy. Why did he not tell them? Because he didn't want to add to their load. He could see they were very busy. They got twin girls, they were always running around setting up business. And he could just see that he would be adding to their weight, adding to their load, as it were. But the things that I spoke to them about were, have you noticed a change in his behavior? And they were like, yeah, it's much quieter than normal. What's he like when he comes home from school? It's a lot more withdrawn. Okay. Have you actually spoken to him about how he feels about going to school? And they said, yeah, on a Monday, he's always very anxious. He's always so glad it's Friday and always so anxious on a Monday. And I said, do you know how he's sleeping? And his mum said, interesting, he's got black bags under his eyes. And I said, you've been tired. You've not been sleeping very well. And he suddenly seems to have lost confidence. He's not the boy he used to be. And we didn't know what was going on. Now, there's an example, a perfectly good example of my child's being bullied and I don't know. They mask it from you, hide it from you. They're embarrassed about it. And as they get older, they get more embarrassed. When they're younger, they don't know about embarrassment. They just know that their parents are busy and they don't want to make it worse for them. But when your children get older, that's when they start to mask behaviors. And that's when you have to be your own detective and you have to watch for changes. You have to see when things aren't as they seem to have been before. Going off their food, wanting to get to their bedroom and the door to be shut, not wanting to talk to you about their day, not even wanting to really join you in the living room and have for some family time. It's like, I've got a lot of work to do, or I just want to chill in my room. And really what they're saying is, I don't know how to tell you. And you don't know how to ask. And so therefore, You don't ask and I don't tell. And that is the root cause of how bullies get away with it. Bullies get away with it because parents don't know it's going on. Oops, Cyrus is on silent.
I am very sorry.
He's very
One of the
experienced,
things,
honest.
one of the things that that comes to mind when it comes to bullies, when you were a kid, you feel tiny compared to that Goliath, right? Compared to that giant, because everything goes through the lens of your mind. You know, you see that bully. We both know. Everyone knows that seeing never happens in the eyes. It happens in the brain. Your eyes are just the tunnel through which you see things. It's just a lens, right? So that bully goes through that lens. That lens being your understanding of the world around you. Then you feel like it's taking an eternity before the bullying episode finishes. You know, they could catch your child in the corner of a school where no teacher can see what's happening. They can catch them at the bus stop. They can catch them at I don't know, behind a shop or something. So they feel alone, right? But when you grow old, you realize that bullies are more scared than anybody you know in your life. How do you know? Can they do what they do in front of the parents? The answer is no. The obvious answer is no. Can they or would they do the things they do? Would they bully other kids in front of the teachers? Would they do it in the headmaster's office? No. Where would they do it? Behind the parents' back, where nobody else can see. Would they do it in front of a judge? No, they won't. So they are cowards. Not only they are scared, but also they're cowards. But the child doesn't know that, right? Me and you can talk about it and have an adult conversation about it. But the child doesn't know that. So these are the things you need to sit down with your child and explain to them, right? Now, your kid won't tell you, right? They will tell you when the cost of not telling you becomes greater than the cost of telling you. That's my understanding. Please correct me if I'm wrong. You're the expert, Paulette.
Yeah, but let me just say one thing to you that I think is really, really important. And that is the changing rooms at school are probably the most feared. Because in most schools, teachers or PE teachers or what TAs do not go into the changing rooms because the new regulations are that they're not allowed to. That means you are giving the children a hotbed of hour of nightmare behavior. And my son
Yep.
was tortured, is the word I would use. He would have his shoes filled with water. He would never have his clothes. They would always be in the shower. They would hide his blazer. They'd steal his money. He was always the last one out of the changing room because that's where they could get to him. And the teachers used to find it funny that he was the last one out. But they didn't realize that he spent another 20 minutes after the other kids had gone looking for his stuff.
Yeah.
So when you ask me, will children eventually tell you? They will tell you when it's broken them. they will tell you when the cost of not telling you is so high that the risks are, if I don't tell you, I'm going to combust. If I don't tell you, I'm going to start bunking off school. If I don't tell you, I'm just going to not go to school because you're terrified of what they're going to do next.
Yeah. You know, in certain countries, you can find guns very easily, right? In some countries, like in the UK, you can find you can't find guns easily, but you can find like anything can be a weapon, right? You can find a kitchen knife, right? So it is those lost opportunities that results in really, really silent and quiet kids blowing up into committing murder or out of proportion retaliation, right? So everyone's got a limit, right? So allowing the bullying, this is adults talking, okay? I'm not saying these things for the kids, because the kids mentality is a kid's mentality at that point in their life. Yeah. So we didn't know the things that we know now when we were kids, when we were their age, right? So you have to understand them. You have to meet them where they are. They won't meet you where you are. I mean, it's quite rare for a kid to meet you where you are, right? It's very rare, right? So you got to do what you got to do. You're the parent, you're the teacher, you got to approach the matter. Don't wait for the matter to approach you, right? Because that would be missed opportunities, okay? Missed opportunities. So my point is, approach the matter before it's too late. Don't allow the bullying to carry on, to continue, because that could allow the hurt to perpetuate for longer than necessary. I mean, any episode is one too many, isn't it? Any episode of bullying. So also, that kid who's being bullied can blow up later and do something very stupid that could have been prevented, right? So now, yeah, when we talk about these things, right, we feel like we know everything. Some of us are like that, right? Certainly, at some point, I have been like that, and I'm like, yeah. In hindsight, yeah, hindsight is 2020, right? You can't apply hindsight to the past, right? That doesn't work. So now let's say your child plucked up enough courage to come and tell you, or your student, your pupils, one of your pupils, if you're a teacher, plucked up enough courage to come and tell you, right? Mind you, it takes a lot of courage, because kids got, some of them, they feel like, oh yeah, I've got street cred. No, you don't. You're only 12. You're only 11. What do you mean street cred? So they feel like it's bad for their reputation if they talk to someone about it. Also, before you know it, they are introduced to this concept of, oh, no snitching, right? So and they get labeled in their small community, in their kids community, that they get labeled as snitches, right? If somebody reports bullying, right? That's another thing that needs to be addressed, by the way. Also, the kid comes to you and says, okay, mom, okay, dad, or okay, teacher, okay, sir, okay, ma'am, I am being bullied, okay? The question is, what should I do the moment my child tells me they're being bullied? She tells you she's being bullied, right? He tells you he's being bullied. At that moment, what should you do? Now, that's something Mrs. Paulette Hallam, the author of Jack and Walter, is going to illuminate us on. Please go ahead, Paulette.
I'm just going to rewind for just 2 seconds, and I'm going to tell you something that I learned a long time ago. And that is, if you can get a child to understand that if you have a little fish problem, you should have a little fish reaction. A big fish problem is a big fish reaction. And so they understand themselves that if this is a big problem, then they're going to have a big issue. And that's when they know they need to come and talk to you. If it's a small fish problem, but you make it into a big fish problem, you catastrophize the situation, then every time you go to your parent, they're going to be like, but is it, is it as bad as all that? Or, is that one of those situations? So I think the key with all of this is to listen. And I'm going to tell you a little secret. Why am I talking? Wait. So when you're a therapist, you're taught wait. So you listen. You ask a question and you listen. And if you feel yourself about to start talking, stop and ask yourself, why am I talking? Because you want your child to have the floor. You want your child to have the opportunity to tell you what's going on. If they've got enough courage to do this, that's the least you owe them. Ask your questions when they're finished, but let them have it all. Let it all come out. Once that's happened, and you will feel emotionally drained and angry, and on their behalf, you'll be wanting to go and take action yourself. And that's completely understandable. Your child has been hurt. You aren't there to protect it. And he's upset or she's upset, and they don't know how to tell you. The answer is, when they do come to you, don't be the solution. Be the listener. Listen to what they've got to tell you. They will tell you everything if you give them just keep saying, yes, really, yes, and then what? And then what? Just gentle little probes, gentle little prods. No speaking, no solutions. Get in there, smacking, blah, blah. None of that. Just listen. Listen. I can't give you any better advice than wait. Why am I talking? Let your child have the opportunity to download everything. Seeing that sign, stop bullying, I get really outraged when Ofcom say there has to be signs saying zero tolerance bullying at our school. What the heck does a sign mean? It's as good as a box ticking exercise. It means nothing. Every school has bullying. Every workplace has bullying. Everywhere you look, there's bullying. But if we can deal with it at children's level, by the time they're adults, it'll be water off a duck's back. They'll be able to handle it. And that's really the key here. It's about giving your child the opportunity to tell you how they feel, tell you what happens when it happens, how they feel in their stomach, how they feel like they're letting you down, how they feel like they're not able to cope. And why can't I cope? I should be able to cope. And you have to just and then what happens? But what happens then? What do they do next? Just gently prod the child. So whilst they're in this opportunity of downloading, you're being the therapist, not the parent. You're being the listener, not the solution provider. Let them talk. Let them tell you what's going on. And only then will you be in a position to have a conversation. Make sense?
Now, for those of us, thank you so much for that. And for those of us who are at home, or in their cars, or commuting to work or back, listening to this or watching this, on behalf of them, I'm going to say, am I correct in understanding when my child is offloading, I'm just supposed to keep my mouth shut, open my ears instead, keep my facial expression to minimum, right? And nod just like you are now, right? Because
Yeah.
you are listening to me, right? You are listening to me. When I was listening to you, I was nodding, right? So that's what I always do. That's become a part of me. Why is it? Because that shows the other person that the conversation is happening at a reasonable flow, at a reasonable speed, and you are getting what they're saying, what they're talking about, right? So you make it easy for them to continue. Okay, so don't jump into action immediately. Am I correct in that understanding?
100%. You need to give them trust, and you need to build that trust. So they need to be able to feel like they can tell you everything and anything. And even if it feels like they're going here, there, jump, jump, this happened and that happened and then that happened and it's all over the place, that's okay, because this is how their mind is remembering this approach of what's happened to them. It's terrifying what's been going on. They've been terrorized. Bullying is for children like being terrorized. And so all you can do at this point is absorb the information with no
Fact
emotion,
finding.
just
Yeah.
positivity, nodding,
Yeah.
yes, and giving them lots of positive affirmations. Yes, tell me more. Tell me more.
What else happened? Who else was involved? Yeah. So what did you do? Because you gauge in the situation. When you understand the problem, you can solve it. If your understanding of the problem is very little, the solutions you can provide are very little, right? So there's a meaningful correlation between your understanding and my understanding of the problem and the solutions I can throw at it, right? So you understand when you're talking to that child, you understand, if, I'm not saying that's the case, but if your child has retaliated as well. So when you go to that school, when you go to that situation, you try to address it, you know how much your child has been involved. Because there were, when I was in school, I would go home and tell my parents that, yeah, I was beaten up today, and I would let my mom find out that I also gave the other kid a black eye, right? So, and then there was repercussions for that later at home as well, because I had been violent towards that child as well, right? So that is something that a parent needs to do. Anthony Austin has joined the show as well. Thank you so much, Anthony. And Anthony is agreeing with what you just said as well, Paulette. So he is a fantastic friend of mine from the States. So and the third question that we want to address here, another question that parents ask: why the hell do children bully other children? Why is it? Last night, me and you were having a conversation, Paulette, and I said to you, when you told me about your TikTok shows, and because I know you're blowing up on TikTok these days. I know you're being humble about it. You said no, but yes, you are, because I can see your progress on TikTok, and you went from 0 to hero in a small space of time. I think it was 2-3 weeks. It was well done for that. So, you said to me there were adults who would approach you and come to the comments and say something extremely inappropriate, like, something you wouldn't say face to face to someone, right? So that's one of those things that people need to observe, really, because if you don't say it in my face, why are you saying it in my comments? You know, it's just inappropriate. So so you said to me, they came to the comments, they came to DMs and said something inappropriate. What was my response to that? My response was, any interaction you have on TikTok or elsewhere, face to face or otherwise, online, right? When someone comes and says something wrong or does something wrong, right? They are telling you, come and grab a seat, right? I want to show you. I want to show you what kind of problems I've been through and what kind of traumas I've been through, right? Now, because I've not handled those traumas correctly and I've not received therapy for them, or I've not processed them correctly, I haven't given myself abundant amount of time to process those traumas. Let me show you what I'm made of now, what I'm filled with: anger, rage, inappropriate behavior, sexualizing the opposite gender, and objectifying the opposite gender. So when a person has not been able to process the trauma perpetuates. And that's not the only danger. It also gets passed on to the next generation as well, right? So bullying, so one of those problems being bullying that hasn't been processed correctly. Bullying is one of the biggest ones. Now, back to the question. Parents are asking, why do children bully other children? What is your response to that, please, Paula?
This is the biggest of all of them. And people say hurt, people hurt. I kind of half am in and out on that one. I believe that children, especially children, because we're talking about children, are wanting attention. They are lacking something at home. They're watching something at home. So they may be mimicking behavior they see, i.e., their dad's bullying their mum or their mum's bullying their dad. They see that they are being bullied by their siblings. They may feel like they have no power, so they will create their own power by attacking someone else. It's an interesting one because when somebody has low self-esteem, when somebody has like issues at home, whatever they be, they're looking for attention from whatever source they can get it. And they kind of feel as if they're being egged on by others. So, say for example, someone says, I got £2.50 out of so-and-so last week, and that meant I could have an extra whatever it was from the tuck shop. Oh, does he have that kind of money? Interesting, right? The bad guys hang around with the bad guys. The good guys hang around with the good guys or girls. You tend to find what they call there's words that I don't particularly like, but like the gang type mentality. It's a group, safety in numbers. So 2 or 3 together become more powerful, and then they feel like they can run the show, or they're in charge of the whatever goes on. It's like they become a little mini dictatorship. It's their way or the highway. You know, it's this is what's going to happen. This is how it's going to happen, and you're going to do it my way or not. You know. And I think the key with all of these things is trying to tell a child that those children that are doing this to them are unhappy. that they have problems and that we should feel in some way sorry for them is a very difficult ask, right? It's a very difficult ask. But what we can do is say, look, these people are not nice and we don't want to be around them. So if you go into a room and they are there and you're going to be on your own, then I would suggest you don't go in that room on your own. Why don't you wait until you've got 2 or 3 of your friends and go in together? There's safety in numbers. Just like they feel safe in numbers, you feel safe in numbers. A very quick example of this, Ben, my son, was being pushed around a lot. It would get to the queue to go for the bell, to queue up for lunch or break or whatever. He would charge over to get into the queue, and it didn't matter where he went in the queue, this lad would push him out the way every time. So he'd end up at the back of the queue. And he said to me one day, I don't think it's fair. And I said, well, why don't you push him back? He said, should I? Should I? I said, yeah, you should. So we spent an afternoon playing pushing games in the kitchen until he would push me, I'd push him back. And he was so gentle. He'd be like, oh, there you are, little push. And I'd be like, no, no, no. I want you to push me so I hurt and go flying. And I won't. I'll be able to steady myself, okay? And he'd be like, okay. And he sort of kind of went for me, and I literally had to grab hold of something. The next day he went into school. The rule was when he pushes you, you push him back. But apparently what happened was I got told by one of the dinner ladies. It was break time, and this little boy called George was in the literally waiting to push Ben. He was coming along, getting ready to go in the queue. Before he even got close to the queue, Ben just went up and went, "Pooh!" And this child's legs came off the ground. Now they had to put Ben to the back of the queue because obviously he shouldn't have done it. But they didn't chastise him, apart from saying, look, you really shouldn't have done that. But they didn't chastise him because they'd seen him being pushed many times before, but were never close enough to do anything about it. They would just see Ben on the floor. They didn't know why Ben was on the floor. So they now have worked out that it was George. So George never pushed Ben again. So sometimes the solution is very simple. Other times the solution is a lot more detailed. And it does depend on the child, depends on the situation, and it depends on how much they've told you and how bad they're feeling and where they're feeling it, whereabouts in their mind and their hearts, and how they want you to support them. Sometimes children will come to you and really want your help. Other times they just want you to say, it's going to be okay. This is a stage, you'll get through it. And by next term, they'll be in a different class and it won't matter. I'm not on that page. I'm a deal with it when it happens page. That's the kind of girl I am. But generally speaking, people do tend to hide away from handling it if they can, because they don't really know the answers. And I would say, look up on YouTube, look up on the internet, see what other people, other parents, other therapists, see what people are doing with your specific problem and try and get a solution from that. Don't try and come up with something on the spur of the moment, which is I'll pop round to their house and I'll bop the dad on the nose, because that is not the solution. The solution needs to come from a quiet conversation, not an angry altercation. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Paulette. Your answers are always detailed, and they help the parents, and the parents who watching this show, listening to this show, teachers who are watching or listening from around the world, please do send your questions or share your opinions about the matter with us. This day and age, it's really easy. Just go to the comment section and tell us what you think. If you've got any experiences, which I'm sure you do, please share them. That will help other parents as well. Me and Paulette are a bridge between all parents and teachers, right? So that's the intention. That's the reason why we've created the show. We've created a show to discuss what really matters in the society, and what is it that matters to parents internationally, okay, all around the world. I don't care which part of the world you are from. You're always welcome to our show, and your problem is definitely experienced either in your own country or in the next, right? In the neighboring country or a country thousands of miles away from you. As they say, nothing new happens under the blue sky, right? So everything's happened before and keeps getting repeated. So please do not feel alone in the problems and the experiences that you are having. Now, so the number 3 was why do children bully other children? Well, I'm going to take it further and say, why do adults bully children, or why do adults bully other adults, right? So one of the most basic needs that human beings have is the need for significance. They want respect, basically, right? Violence is a shortcut between building trust and respect and getting it back from people, right? So I could, so I have been podcasting and doing this kind of stuff that I'm doing since 2010, right? So, and seriously since 2019, right? So, and I'm doing it because I am building my own respect in the society, right? So I am giving to the society, and then society gives it back to me, right? That's how respect works, right? Isn't it? So you put an effort in, people see it, people feel it, people sense it, right? Right now, me and you, Paulette, are helping parents, helping teachers, right, to approach a big issue called bullying the safest way possible. So people see that, and then we keep getting the messages, the responses, full of love, full of respect. Alternatively, we could pick up a gun and put it on someone's head, and that moment in time, who's the most important person to that person? You are. If you pick up a gun and put it on someone's head, you are the most important person to that human being. Why? Because your life is in their hand. Their life is in your hand, right? So that is respect, isn't it? No, it's not. It's fear. Okay.
Not really, no. So, not in my book.
that is pure fear. That is terror, right? But the bully perceives it as respect. So that's the whole mechanism behind bullying, right? So when you bullying someone, when you putting them in a really, in your view, in an inferior or weak position, you enhancing your own in your head as a bully, right? So that's the reason why people commit bullying, because they want to show the other person, I am the boss, I'm the big one, you respect me, okay, in a really basic way, right? And they carry on doing it until some bigger bully bullies them back, or shatters their reputation, or the bones sometimes, or the skull, or they find themselves in a really confrontational manner with the law. Okay, they find themselves
exposed
in head-on collision. They end up in prison. There's a place for them, prison, right? So they usually, it's like a really slow motion car crash that is in the making. So that's the life that bullies live, right? So they are not stopped until they are, and when they are stopped, usually it's a car crash, isn't it? So and avoidable, by the way. So next question that parents are asking, and parents have that on their mind, is cyberbullying. So bullying is bullying, right? Now that this question is cyberbullying now a bigger problem than playground bullying? I know you know the answer, Paulette. Why don't you share it with us?
I'm afraid to tell you that cyberbullying is terrifying. Cyberbullying has become a 24/7 game. So kids are no longer just bullied in the playground or on the bus, in the changing rooms. Now it's, I put a picture of your face on a body of a nude girl, and now I've passed it around all over the internet. Number one. Number two, I have told people via social media that you slept with 3 guys in a year. And you haven't slept with anybody. But the fact it's out there, now somebody can see that, and the degradation and fear that that brings up, and you haven't even done anything, right? That is massive. And the way that we need to understand the bullying is that these people have worked out technology. They've worked out, they're actually gifted in a way, because they've actually spent the time and got to know technology so much better than most people, than most teachers, than most educators. They know all the way around these systems. They know how to get in, they know how to get out. They have different names, they have different numbers, they have swapped their phone number out. They've done everything and anything. The only thing they can't do is change that IP address, unless, of course, they get a VPN, I think it's called, is the thing that I hear is the downside to that one. But the most important thing to understand is that when you have access to all these different platforms, that means that your name can appear everywhere very quickly. And let's say you did kiss somebody and somebody caught a picture of it, and it was meant to be at the disco, and it was meant to be a little quick snog, and it wasn't meant to mean anything. And now it's captured all over the internet, and you and the other person are mortified. The problem we have is, yeah, you're absolutely right. Not everyone is anonymous. Cyberbullies sometimes are not hiding. Sometimes they are, but not always. Sometimes they are proud of their work and they get caught. Thank goodness. But what I wanted to say is that when your child is upstairs in their room, I would like you to have a rule. If they're not getting changed, to either get into bed or go in the shower or whatever, the door is open. That door open is a huge part of solving what's going on, because you can walk in at any time, and that means they know that you know something is up. They know that you're noticing a change in their behavior. You're noticing something is different about them. They're being more secretive. They're being like looking at their phone all the time or agitated. You can't help but pick up those nuances, right?
They're on the edge all the
And
time, yeah.
They're on the edge all the time. And that feeling of being caught, of somebody repeating it. What if those parents go out for dinner because they're all part of the friendship group and then they find out that way that this has happened? I need to tell my parents before they go out for dinner, but you're too scared to. And even though it's not your face, even though you didn't do it, even though whatever, you're still trying stupid that somewhere down the line, somebody has put a picture together of you, somebody said you've done something when you haven't done it. And those cyber bullies they don't even need to be in your locality. They just can get a picture off social media and then start terrorizing you. They don't even need to be in this country. They just need your photo. And then they take that photo and they put it on top of another photo, and now they've got a nude photograph of you, and they say we're gonna send that around the internet if you don't pay us X amount of money, or something like that. There was a whole school the other day, a school put out a football team or rugby team, I'm not sure which, but it was a team that won an award, and there was like a school photo of them winning it. The next day, the teacher received a threat, and when he opened his computer, there was nude photographs of all these children. Their faces had been put onto bodies, and he was told 100,000 or we circulate this. He called the police, he called the parents, and he called the children in. And he said, we are not scared, and we will get to the bottom of this. We stay together and we stand united. We know it's not you, you know it's not you. I will do an assembly that says it's not you. But terrifying. And I think that's the sort of thing, Cyrus, that you have to understand that that was a headmaster who got attacked, who was cyberbullied over his children.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we go to the next question, a very quick look at a commercial from our sponsor, and then we'll be back after that.
Give me tea, give me tea, give me lots of tea. My new favorite is a box of tea. Cups of tea, pots of tea, give me lots of tea. My new favorite is a box of tea. Give me tea, give me tea, give me a box of tea. Can I please have a cup of a box of tea?
Tea milk, 2 sugars. Tea milk, 2 sugars. Tea milk, 2 sugars. Tea milk, 2
Sugars. Okay. Now, what did you want to say, Paula? Sorry.
I was just going to finish off. I've got a written note down here that I put down that I said, if a parent doesn't understand how to manage the internet with their child, just tell them at whatever time it is the router goes off. It's not that their devices go off. It's not that they've got no phones in the room, no this, no that. The router goes off, and you can unplug it. And then when you want to, if an hour passes and you go upstairs and they're asleep, you can put it back on again if you want to use it for something. But they need to see that you are prepared to unplug the router, to give them that peace of mind that they need to go and get some good sleep. So just bearing that in mind, that's a really good option.
Absolutely. Definitely. Use your parental controls, right? Don't forget who you are. You're the parent, right? So your job is to be friendly. Your job is not to be their friend. Right. It's not a popularity contest, all right? So do the right thing. You don't have to be necessarily popular, right? So Paula, I'm gonna play something from 2024, I think. Whisper Boy.
My heart goes boom, 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 boom. Can't catch no sleep in this dark room. There's a witch out there on a broom. Zoom, anxiety's high. It's dark, cold, doom and gloom. Scared to death with my mouth cotton dry. Demons on the ceiling making me wanna cry. Absolute nightmare, this ain't no dream. I want my mommy but too scared to scream.
Hello, just a quick hello from me. Just really wanted to say a massive thank you to everybody for supporting me and Charlotte on this journey. And this is massive to us, and it means the world. And every single person who's pledged to come to the event, every person who's pledged to buy the book, every person who said, yeah, we get it, we understand, we're going to do it for you. Thank you. Thank you for the children. Thank you for believing in me and Charlotte, and thank you for understanding that the money is going to go and help the right people, and the books will help people so much, because anything that's scary to a grown-up is so scary to a child. You can multiply it by X 100, and that's how scary it is. So thank you. I think that's all I wanted to say. Just a quick listen. I really appreciate every one of you, and all of you that have helped me and supported me and been part of my journey. Thank you.
Whisper Boy Podcast.
Wow.
Wow.
That seems like a while ago.
Yeah.
I'm not really emotional.
Just wanted to surprise you.
It did.
So, those of you who are watching the show, either live or on repeat, please remember Charlotte Moorman and Paulette Hallam, two of my friends, have created this book series called Jack and Walter. Jack and Walter it's a trilogy, right? It's a trilogy. The titles are Jack and Walter in the Banterless Breakfast Mystery. That's the orange one. The green one is New House Nerves. This is good if someone, if a child, God forbid, if a child is in the hospital, day 1, day 2, they are still getting used to the environment. The first day of school, this helps them as well. It's this trilogy is useful and it's helpful. New School Niggles as well. That's another part of this trilogy. So these 3 books make really good gifts. Okay, so buy your child one, buy your nephew one, right, and buy one for someone else and gift it to them. So buy one for yourself, for your own kid, and buy a set for another child as well. Another child that is to you is classed as nearest and dearest. Okay, you know your nephew, your niece, your neighbor's child, your child's classmate. I don't know, whoever you want to help. Okay, so one of the signs of a good parent is that they have this maternal or paternal instinct towards other children as well. Okay, so what Paulette is running is a charity here, right? So every book that you purchase, every single dime goes to a child. predominantly children who don't have parents. Okay, so if you're watching this, if you're listening to us, remember, you are blessed. Your child is blessed to have you as a rock, as a fantastic parent. Show appreciation and gratefulness by helping other kids who are not lucky enough to have a parent like you. That's my message to you guys today. So that was about the books, Paulette. Now, let's go to the next question. We're running out of time. We have to pick up the pace here. So, such a difficult question to answer, this one. Why do so many children stay silent when they see bullying happening? Why do so many children stay silent when they
It's very
see
easy.
bullying?
This is the easiest question for me to answer, because they're frightened if they say anything, it will get turned on them. So it is literally fear. If I stand up for that other person, then I become the victim. So you might be the victim that you stand up for that other person, but they just turn it straight on you. So people will never ever want to be the person who's getting bullied. So therefore, they will not intervene. And it
So they don't
takes
want the same
somebody.
thing to happen to them.
Exactly. They do not want to become the subject of the story. So they'd rather leave somebody else in the thick of it.
Maybe this is unpopular. Maybe this is unpopular opinion, but I can't blame that child who wants to stay out of it. You know, they don't want to get hurt because they watch the hurt as it's happening to someone else, right? I've certainly been
And it
there,
could even
right?
be their friend, Cyrus, but they
Yeah.
still can't bring themselves to do anything about it.
Yeah, but you can teach your child and explain to them anonymously. You can report that, right? You can report that anonymously. You don't necessarily.
I know where you're going with this. I
Go on,
know where
Paula.
you're going.
You go on, man. Go on.
Go on then. So there was a horrible incident going on at my son's school, and they were all being asked to sign a petition to say they didn't like another child. And Ben was horrified about this. And so as a consequence, he went and saw the headmaster, actually deputy head, and he told him what was going on. And he said, I need you to do something about it because it's terrible. And if my friend finds out, he'll be really upset. And I'm the only one that's ticked it so far. And the teacher said, don't worry, leave it with me. And then that next day he called an assembly and he asked what was going on. And at the end of it, he was talking about it. He said, some brave person was able to come to me and speak and tell me what was going on. And my son put his hand up and said, yeah, that was me. And the teacher said, do you know, whistleblowers normally keep quiet, Ben, you'll learn. But I knew that story was coming. So, yeah. But the point is, you know, people very rarely have the guts to stand up because they're frightened of it being turned on themselves. Simple as that.
Oh, thank you. So the next one is, are schools really equipped to deal with bullying? My experience is schools, some of them, they print stickers, they stick them here and there, you know, in the locker rooms and in the corridors and in classrooms. But bullying won't get stopped by stickers. Bullying won't get stopped by brochures. You can't stop bullying by a pamphlet, even, right? You can't stop bullying by creating a website. Heaven knows how many websites are there against bullying, right? We can't stop bullying by those things. We can stop bullying by create an anti-bullying culture. We can stop bullying by making bullying costly. If you make it costly, think about it. Think about it. If something's too expensive, you don't even go online to check it, right? You don't even go online to check the price because you know
No.
it's outside your budget. As an example, a jet, an airplane, right? So there's no point for me to go and find the prices of airplanes because within the next few weeks, I'm not exactly planning on buying one. But if I did, I would think twice. If I said to someone, I promise you I'm gonna have a jet by next Thursday, that would be costly. Either it makes me a liar or I'm gonna have to steal one, right? So the actions that we take before we take them, we look at the cost of our actions, don't we? So if you make bullying costly enough for the bully to calculate and think twice before committing it, you make it at least difficult for them. And that is definitely not happening through printing stickers. So how would you go about it? And are schools really equipped with bullying? Equipped to deal with bullying? Sorry.
Different schools have different policies. Private schools, no, because they would rather put their head in the sand and pretend it's not happening. Because if they have to have a fallout with a parent, that means they're falling out with the paycheck. So they are less likely to react. But the sort of public schools absolutely have put some serious effort into trying to reward people for coming forward, for rewarding good behavior. So making people understand that if you're doing something and it's going to hurt somebody else, that you come forward and you say that that is a bad thing. And you can do it anonymously, you can do it however you want, but you will do it. And that's what we want to try and achieve is kids to take responsibility for what they see. And the thing is, if you do it as a child, then you do it as a young adult, you do it as a teenager, then you do it as a young adult, then you do it as an adult. You will always be that person who's looking, who's seeing, who notices. And they're the sort of people that change the world. And the reason they change the world is because they're prepared to stand up for what's right. And the more we praise that, the better.
Thank you so much, Paulette. How can parents build resilience before bullying ever happens? Now, it's such a rare question. Not many people ask that question, by the way. It's a fantastic question. How do we teach children? I'm sorry. It was this one, 7. How can parents build resilience before bullying ever happens? So basically, that is preemptive, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's really smart. It's really, really smart. Teaching children emotional intelligence at whatever age is smart. The mind works in 2 ways. You have a subconscious mind and your conscious mind. Subconscious mind is full of all the negative talk or everything you've ever done wrong, everything that is causing you problems. The conscious mind is the thinking mind, the mind that helps you work out problems, solution providing. And so in the books, Jack and Walter, Walter is the thinking mind and Jack is the all over the place, not quite sure, subconscious mind. And so what we say to parents is, these books are preemptive. These books tell a child how to handle it. These books would never allow a child to be bullied because they'd feel strong enough to stand up to whatever the situation. And I don't mean they'd stand up as in stand up to the bully, but they would stand up to the situation. So it only happens the once. They go home, they tell their parents, they understand that it's important to tell a responsible adult who you trust, and that's what you do. And you don't fear it. You know it's the right thing to do. And so building resilience is about letting a child feel strong as a tree, tall as a tree. I can't be blown over because I'm a tree. You can't hurt me because I'm a tree. And when they walk around feeling like a tree, they feel like they're the biggest tree, the oak tree, the huge big tree. They might only be a pint-sized little child, but they feel like a tree. That's the best form of resilience, is to build them up to feel like nothing can blow them over. And if something tries to, they go straight to a responsible adult and they tell them. And it's about this snitchy thing you mentioned. I say to the snitchy thing. You just go and you tell mum, you tell dad, you tell a responsible adult, you tell a teacher, you deal with it there and then. If you don't, it'll happen again and again and again. These people who are bullies get pleasure. I know it's a horrible thing to say, but it's like they get a kick. They get like a, yeah, that was fun out of it. So we
Well,
stop
there's
it. First
there's another
time.
thing as well. There was a bully in my school. He, God bless him, he beat me up a lot. So when I was a kid, I asked him once. So we play football, and on our way finished, and on our way back home, I asked him, "Why do you always hit kids? Why do you always beat up kids? You're a really good footballer, and oh, he was never chosen as the captain because the coach knew that he was a bully, and on the pitch, he got beat up a lot on the pitch, but off the pitch, because people would team up against him, right? But off the pitch, everyone was scared of him. So on the pitch, because there was a ref, there was the coach who was the ref as well, right? So in front of the coach, there was not many things he could say or do, but he always threatened people that we're going to have a chat later. We're going to have a chat later, or I'm going to see you later. You come to my door, or I will come to yours later. So he would physically threaten you, right? So this kind of behavior was like really strange for me. I couldn't process it. I was like, oh, why is it you always beat up people? He said to me, my dad always beats me up, and my older brothers, he had one brother, and his brother would beat him up all the time, and his dad would beat him up all the time as well. So I told my mom about it, and my mom said, "Are you surprised?" I was like, "No, I'm not. I don't think I should be surprised because he's retaliating, but because they're too big, is kind of getting even, not with those perpetrators, like getting even with innocent people." And she said, "Yeah, that's one of the reasons behind bullying." And she told me she knew about it as well from her school. She told me a couple of stories as well, and then I was like, oh, "Hang on a minute, this is nothing new." And to me, it was something really new. And as soon as my mom told me, so I want to tell you guys something. Tell your children stories that you have witnessed. Stories get memorized. Fireside kind of campfire stories, right? They get memorized forever. They get internalized forever, right? So your child learns through authentic stories, and the most authentic person on this planet is you to your child, is you, because you are the original. You are the OG in your child's mind and eyes. They never tell you. They probably never tell you. But if you tell them about your experiences, they find it easy to process the matter, because things like bullying are not easy to process at all, right? So the next thing we want to discuss here is what. Did we get number 8?
It's how do we teach children to trust their gut instincts and speak to their trusted adult?
How do we teach children to trust their gut instinct and speak to a trusted adult? Wow. That's one of those.
It's Jack and Walter. It's what Jack and Walter's all about.
Which
This is
one?
the whole
Which
reason.
one? Is it 1? Is it 2?
Really
Is it
all
3?
I would say it's all of them in different ways. What we're trying to do with Jack and Walter is Jack talks to Walter. Walter responds to Jack. Now, Jack doesn't work out that Walter is actually his conscious mind talking to him. He just thinks it's his best friend, his cuddly toy that just helps him work out his problems. And it's a really great way of a child learning to trust. And when a child speaks their truth and they have this friend in Walter that they can talk to, whether it's a parent, whether it's a sibling, whether it's the cuddly toy, the dog, whatever it is, whoever they decide to entrust their issues to, what they're trying to say is, something's bothering me and I don't know what to do about it. In my gut, in my stomach, something doesn't feel right. I don't like Uncle Sid. Uncle Sid always wants, apologise to all Sids out there, but Uncle Sid always wants to sit next to me at the table. And he always puts his hand on my leg and I don't like it. Or he puts his arm around me just a little bit too much. Makes me feel uncomfortable, right? That child might be scared to tell the parent about Uncle Sid because it's their mum's brother or whatever. And it would be like difficult and awkward. But if they learn to trust their gut, what they do is they talk it through with their child, their sibling, their whatever, whoever it is, their closest thing, their cuddly toy, their dog, whoever it is, who they entrust this information to. And the answer will always be, you need to let mum know. And if mum says, he's just really friendly and don't worry about it, all you do is make sure you get to the table first next time and you sit somewhere else, okay? So you then take responsibility to make sure you don't get to sit next to him. That takes the problem away, okay? Number 1. Number 2, if you are trusting your gut about something is scaring me. So New has nerves. It's scratching at the window. And Walter says, but Jack, it might not be anybody at the window. It might be that big tree we saw when we drove up. Do you remember the big tree outside? Now, he's scared that it's something scratching at the window. But Walter encourages him to go and check. And of course, there's a branch. And tomorrow, Dad will get up there and cut the branch down. The question is, will there be monsters under my bed? And Walter says, Jack, look down. And he says, why? He says, look down. We're sleeping on an air mattress. There can't be monsters under the bed. And it's that reasoning. And this is where you build trust and instinct and self-belief and resilience and the ability to say, I don't like that. I'm not comfortable with that, or whatever it is you need to say. But it teaches you to speak up, to have that voice, to grow those feet like trees so that they're making you strong and resilient, and then planting yourself firm and not taking any nonsense. And that is what stops everything becoming so fearful that it overrides you. And all of the books, both the New House Nerves and the New School Niggles, are all about transitions. Every single transition in life, whether it's breakups for families, whether it's moving house, whether it's a new school, a new class, a new teacher, whatever the new is, it can throw children, especially children like with autism or ADD or ADHD, anything like any of the neurodivergences. These things are tenfold scary. And if you can use these books to support you in your journey, The Bantaless Breakfast is about bereavement, but it helps children understand that they can cope with it and they're still allowed to laugh at the end. And that's the key. Again, resilience and learning how to handle the situation. So I think we've covered that one, because really, once they know that they can trust, once they can trust themselves, we're flying. Absolutely flying.
Thank you. Now, the next one is, what can parents do when the school doesn't seem to be listening? So there are times when the child goes to a parent and says, all right, this is happening, and this has been happening for months, right? Now, I trust you're going to make a good decision, and we need to take it. And then the parents decide to take it to school. They do, first time, nothing happens. Second time, nothing happens, right? Sometimes nothing happens because the kids' parents are important, they're very important people, and they have lots of influence on that school, right? Lots of money, lots of influence. They donate a lot of money to the school. They keep the school going financially. So it's a little bit awkward for them. It shouldn't be like that, but it is sometimes, right? So the life that we live is the life that we are living. It's not, we don't live the life that we should be living, right? So it's not always like that. So we can't be addressing issues like this hypothetically, right? We can't, because when bullying happens and the school is not listening, you don't deal with a hypothetical situation, do you? You're dealing with it, something very much true, and like sometimes it's a clear and present danger to the child, right? And that bully needs to be stopped. So what should the parent do if the school is not listening?
Well, there are a few things. The first thing is that you make sure that the complaint is in writing, and you make sure that you have recorded all the details, and I mean all the details. And you threaten the school that if they don't take action, then you'll take it to the police. Once a child is 12 years old, they are considered to be a young adult. Therefore, if they take a photograph of another child in the shower and threaten to pass it around the school, then that is an act of sexual violation, and that is something that a police will deal with. The school won't want that publicised, so the school have to deal with it. Do you have to threaten the school? Sometimes yes. Sometimes yes. I did threaten the school with my son, but then my son had a particularly awful situation. But I did actually go and say, if anything happens to my child, I promise you I'll hold every single one of you accountable. And that includes the head to the deputy to all of them, safeguarding everybody else. And I said, and not only will I hold you responsible, I will take the school down. And they just looked at me and they were like, she means it. Now,
Yeah,
could I have done that? Go.
I'm sorry for interrupting you, Paul. So the minimum we should be doing is documenting things.
Documenting, recording, making sure that you've got the details on the child, making sure you've written down everything and you put it in writing to the school with all the detailed information. Making sure that you can trust your child, because you don't want a 50-50 story where, like, you know, you've been thumping as much as they've been thumping. So you have to trust that your child is telling you the truth. And I kind of feel like these sorts of children that are in this kind of fear are telling the truth. And what you do is there are safeguarding procedures in place. There are governors who are at the schools. You can escalate it to the Ofsted. You can take it to such high levels that the school will be absolutely in panic. Now, do I suggest that's what you do to start with? No. The first thing is a conversation that is recorded and documented. I don't mean physically recorded. You go in, you hand them a document. You've written everything down. They've got a copy. You've got a copy. That's it. You walk away. If it doesn't change, this is what my next action will be. My next action will be I'll go to the governors, because you don't care enough. I'll go to the governors of the school. And if the governors don't care enough, I'll go to Ofsted. When you threaten a school like that, you become so strong. Your child is tree, but you've become a forest, because you have stood there and you've said, no, this doesn't happen on my watch. And if you don't do something about it, I will. Now, your child may well go, Mum, please, Dad, please don't go into school. It's the worst thing you can do, right? Because they'll be thinking that, you know, somehow there'll be repercussions. But I'm telling you, it's the right thing to do.
So when they don't listen, you simply get them to listen, right?
Escalate.
Yeah, escalate. And remember, those escalation channels are there for a reason, for the foreseeable future, right? So, and remember, when you're experiencing an awful situation, it's almost certainly has happened to someone else before, right? So please don't feel alone in the situation that you're experiencing, okay? And talk to your sister before you go to school, and before you threaten the school with legal action. Talk to your sister, talk to your brother, talk to your husband, wife, you know, put your heads together and find a solution, right? So when they don't listen, right, and they feel they're really, really high, remember, the higher they are, the harder they fall, right? So the school has more to lose. Remember, the school has more to lose. So that's the reason why you need to use that to your advantage. If you, and by the way, this is for just 1% of the time when they don't listen, right? Schools do listen, right? But 1% of the time when they don't listen, you can get them to listen, right? I know people who take it to the local newspaper and use the newspaper as leverage, right? Because here's the truth. Your kid's being bullied. That's one fact. The school didn't listen. That's fact number 2. You complained. It didn't get anywhere. That's fact number 3, right? They didn't listen again, right? So you exhausted every avenue. That's, I think you are within your rights to take it to social media or to local newspaper, right? Or take it to your local MP, your member of parliament, right? So you can get them to listen. And remember, this is very important. Focus on this bit. It's not that the school doesn't listen. It's that the person who's in charge hasn't listened, right? If you go above them, perhaps you could get the results that you should have gotten before, which is for the matter to get resolved, right? So if they don't listen, take it further, escalate, just like Paulette mentioned. And also, number 10. What kind of adult do we want our children to become? That's an important question. I'm going to let you expand on that, Paula.
So I would say we want to raise confident, we want to raise resilient, we want to raise children that have got good character, we want to raise children that have been educated, and we want them to have had strong and good parenting, good role models. I think courage is the word that I use so often. Have courage. Go away, become a great adult with courage to stand by your values, to stand by what you know is right. If you see something that is wrong, if you aren't happy with something, I'm not suggesting you run in where there's knives and guns and God knows what else. But I am suggesting that if you see a man push a woman and you say, "Excuse me, do you need some help?" You know, raise an adult that is brave, courageous, and willing to stand up for what they know is right. Because the more intelligent they become, the more emotionally intelligent they become, the more they will see things. It's a really interesting thing that when you are wise, and I mean wise as in you've had knowledge, you've had experience, you've had a bit of life, and you use that experience to become a really good parent yourself in the future, because you'll be courageous in that parenting. You'll have compassion, you'll have integrity. And the one thing that you won't do is not listen to your gut. You'll trust your gut. If it doesn't feel right, it's not right. If your gut tells you to do something about it, then do something about it. If you can see something going on at work that you know is wrong, either have a word with the people that you know are doing it, or go to the boss. This does not stop when you become an adult. Okay? I just want you to know that. It doesn't stop. It changes. And that's what I want to talk about tonight, is it changes. So you treat your children so that they are courageous. You treat your children so they're educated. You make sure your children are resilient. You make sure they've had good, strong parenting. They've had solid education. They've been brought up with emotional intelligence. They are courageous. They have compassion and they have integrity. And if they have all of those things, I think you'll find you've made a pretty good job of it. And I think that I would finalize that with the goal isn't simply to raise children who survive bullying. The goal is to raise children who have the confidence to challenge wrongdoing, support others, and become resilient adults.
Thank you so much, Paulette. I loved this episode, and I hope the things that we discussed during this episode of Tea, Milk, 2 Sugars has been helpful to people watching this show and people listening to this show. Remember that if you feel helpless and if you feel there are no solutions, remember the solution's out there. You haven't searched enough yet. Okay, don't give up. Share your problem with someone else. Ask them, what would you do in that situation? It's such a good question, this question, isn't it? What would you do if you were in my situation? And even if they give you the right or wrong answer, it doesn't matter. 9 out of 10, you will find the answer yourself. Your brain gives you the answers. Okay, the solutions are out there. Search them. Okay, don't feel helpless. Don't feel depressed. Okay, so whenever you feel depressed because of the problem, remember you've given up a little bit too much, a little bit too early, right? I know the pain is too much sometimes. It's not just to. I'll give you a more specific example. When your child is being bullied, you feel the pain as well. It's not your child being affected; your family gets affected, right? The family is affected. When you go to work the next day, or when your husband or your wife goes to work, they are also thinking about the same thing. The whole family gets shaken up, right? So that's why bullying is wrong, right? And I'm going to finish on this. You are doing a great job being a parent, okay? You. Hi, Lisa. Lisa Furwick is watching the show as well. Thank you so much for joining us, Lisa. So you are doing a great job being a parent. Being a parent doesn't mean being perfect, okay? So being a parent just means being a parent, being a guardian. You're the guardian angel your child has, okay? And also, I hope the pain you carry in silence heals soon. And you don't necessarily have to suffer in silence. Please do share with your friends, share with us, share with anyone you trust, okay? You are doing a great job being a parent, protecting your children. The fact that you've been listening to this, that means you are probably looking for solutions, or perhaps you could contribute to a solution for someone else, right? You never know. So I'd like to thank every single one of you for joining us, staying with us for over an hour and a half. Thank you so much. And Paulette, any further closing comments about bullying in general?
I think finally, just know that it will happen. It does happen. It doesn't always have to be to your child. But if your child is aware of what bullying even is, if you've had that conversation, if they see it, they'll call it out themselves. They will not tolerate it on anybody. And that's the key here. If we can teach children to be strong and resilient, they will stand up for each other. They'll be brave enough to put their head above the parapet, as they say. You must understand that while children are in fear, they will do nothing. They will either do fight, freeze, you know how it works. But the point is, we want them to stand, grow tall, and be able to make a decision that is the right decision, which is to deal with it there and then, nip it in the bud. And if they don't want it to be stopped and they want it to carry on and they see this as their idea of fun, then you go and see a respected adult, somebody you trust, or your parent. But you make sure you deal with it. And that's my last comment. Make sure they understand it needs dealing with as soon as possible.
Thank you so much, Paulette, for your great insights. And thank you so much for writing the trilogy that you've written. The name of the books is Jack and Walter series, and you can find them on Amazon. I can show you some of the comments that you read on there as well. Lovely book for a little people tackling some worrying topics with warmth and lovely illuminations. Illustrations, sorry. So you've had a great response from the community with these books as well. Congratulations, Paulette. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
coming to another Tea, Milk, Two Sugars episode, and see you all in the next one.